Hi, it's Dr. Syra, and today I want to talk to you about altered states of consciousness. Altered states of consciousness. Now, what does this mean? It's a principle that's used in psychology to talk about any ways of perceiving or being in the world that aren't your regular day to day normal state of being. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. If you think about a really simple way of understanding it is think about when you're waking up first thing in the morning, right? So you wake up in the morning and you're maybe kind of a little bit drowsy first thing. I know I am. Some people like pop right out of bed, not me. I have this time where I'm just like kind of awake, kind of asleep, not quite fully awake. So that's like I'm starting to leave that dream state and come into a more alert state. But I'm still kind of like groggy. My eyes are kind of half closed and I'm kind of walking around the room, like meditating or whatever. But I'm in a very kind of non-awake state, right? With the passage of time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, as I get more alert, my state of awareness changes. So you might have this experience, I know I do, where it's like first thing in the morning, I'm just waking up and somebody asks me a really like important question, and my brain is like, I can't pull together an answer because I don't even really know what they're saying, right? So I'm not at my alert state. So if you think about, first thing when you wake up, you have kind of that maybe groggy state, and then maybe an hour into your day, you might feel a little bit more alert. And maybe 2 or 3 hours into your day, you don't even really remember that sleepy feeling. You're just kind of fresh. And then later on in the day, many of us hit a slump, right? Where we're starting to feel kind of like tired and not quite present. And our state, our consciousness or our presence, our quality of our presence is changing. So that's a really simple way of understanding altered states, right? We're going in and out of different states all through the day. Another example is when you're driving. For those who drive a vehicle, you might notice that you have a moment where you get into your vehicle and then you're at your destination. You're like, oh, I don't even know how I got here. Or you're in the middle of driving and you're kind of, relaxed and tuned into your music or whatever. And then something happens on the road and your attention shifts and you become really alert to what's happening in front of you. So these are all changes that happen in our awareness and our consciousness in what we're paying attention to and how alert we are. This is common for all of us. It happens for all of us all through the day. So that's one way of looking at altered states, that there's kind of a shifts in consciousness throughout the day. What I'm interested in is kind of a deeper, more deliberate attempt at changing your alertness or awareness or your consciousness. And so that's through things like, for example, meditation, right? You can actually very predictably change your feeling of presence and your feeling of like concentration through a meditative practice. So for those who engage in meditation, you'll know that there's a moment often in a meditative practice where you may feel a bit of stillness, right? There may be the moment of the busy mind, but then there could also be these deep moments of stillness where time kind of expands and changes. And there's actually really some interesting brain science around this, which I'll talk about in another video, around the different brainwave states, right? And we actually go in and out of different states of, like, our brain functions differently throughout our day. And we can actually create an entry point into these altered states through meditation. Meditation is kind of a big word and it seems to mean a lot of things these days, but what I'm talking about here is where you're regulating your nervous system, right? So you're kind of doing that deep, full breath experience. You're kind of in that calm, relaxed state, and then you're allowing yourself to go into this other space where we tend to be much more open to the creative process. We tend to be much more receptive to kind of intuitive guidance or creative guidance. So it's a really interesting place to play. Some people find engaging in regular meditation practice helps them be more emotionally regulated in their day-to-day life. It can actually help improve your relationships if you're somebody who's like very reactive and like, something's said and you just jump. Meditation can actually help change your brain over time to make you less reactive. So there's states like altered states where you're changing yourself into another space temporarily. And then there's the long-term impact of something like meditation, where you're actually, for the long term, changing your reactivity or your sense of presence, your capacity to concentrate, for example. I am so fascinated by all the different ways that our mind works, and all of the very kind of current and cutting edge research on the brain that's out there right now. I don't think we know all of it. I think there's still a lot of mystery, a lot of room for exploration. But I just wanted to start this series with talking about altered states because that's something that we're going to be diving into more in the weeks to come. And all of the different ways that we can actually consciously shift our state to be more present, to be more connected to our loved ones, to be more comfortable in our bodies. These are some of the outcomes that we can have when we're deliberately changing our sense of presence and awareness. So those are my thoughts for what are altered states of consciousness, and we'll be kind of exploring this topic more in the weeks to come. See you later.